Welcome to this latest edition of the Told and Stone Subscriber Q&A, where I answer your questions about the ancient Greeks and Romans. Today we have only one question, which several of you have asked, and that is, did Christians really face lions in the Colosseum? This might seem like a strange question. Christian martyrs facing lions in a Roman arena is one of the most enduring images from the classical world. Now, there's no doubt whatsoever that many Christians were subjected to gruesome deaths in arenas across the empire. What's unclear is how many martyrdoms, if any, took place in the Colosseum. First, a bit of background on the Roman custom of feeding condemned criminals to animals in the arena. This wasn't just a bit of inventive depravity, though some Romans, to their credit, were repelled by it. Until quite recently, and in cultures across the world, criminals were executed publicly as a way of making their punishment exemplary, and in theory deterring future crimes. One thinks of the guillotine in the French Revolution, or of public hangings in 19th century America. What sets the Roman example apart is the way the deaths of criminals were incorporated into the entertainments of the games. Typically, executions were staged at lunchtime, between the beast hunts of the morning and the gladiators of the afternoon. There was often an attempt to make the punishment fit the crime. In one particularly spectacular example, a bandit from Sicily who had lurked in the slopes of Mount Etna, that great volcano near Taormina, was made to stand on a model of the volcano, which then fell apart, pitching him into a cage of wild animals. Using animals to execute criminals was both more grisly, and thus in theory a better deterrent than a standard beheading or hanging. And it was also less predictable, which made it, from the cynical perspective of the men who set up the games, more entertaining. It was for this reason that Christians were often condemned ad bestias, to the beasts. Until the middle of the 3rd century, the persecutions of the Christians were sporadic and regional. In Rome, the most notorious episode is Nero's persecution, which followed the Great Fire of 64. Other episodes followed in the 2nd and early 3rd centuries, some documented with remarkable first-person accounts. But it was the persecutions of Decius, and later of Diocletian, which were deadliest to the Church. To simplify a complex phenomenon, the Roman government persecuted the Christians because they seemed to put their god and their community before loyalty to the emperor and the empire's gods. The Romans also distrusted the novelty of Christianity, and were unsettled by rumors of strange practices at Christian services. Christians, in short, found themselves classed with bandits and murderers as the worst kind of criminals, the kind of criminals, in other words, who could be exposed to beasts in the arena. We have several accounts of Christians facing animals in the 2nd and 3rd centuries. The Martyrs of Lyon, for example, were gored and trampled by bulls. In North Africa, Perpetua and her companions were killed by leopards and bears. We even have some late antique depictions of martyrs confronting lions and other beasts. So, did Christians ever face the beasts at the Colosseum? There is an ancient tradition that St. Ignatius was devoured by lions at the Colosseum during the reign of Trajan. Later, we hear about Abdon and Senon, 2 Christians from Persia, who were reportedly executed at the Colosseum under Decius. The problem with all of this is that the accounts we have are much later than the events they purport to describe, and date to a time when the Church was motivated to advertise the cruelties of the persecutions. It is very likely that Christians did die at the Colosseum. We just don't know when or how. So the answer is probably. Not very satisfying, perhaps, but it's important for us as historians to acknowledge what we don't know. And on that rare note of honesty, we'll close. If you have any questions about the classical world, feel free to ask them in the comments. Thanks for watching.